Hello, everybody. This is Alia Jamal, the Love Coach, and we are meeting for another Love Circle. And I am very excited about today's topic because today we are talking about triggers. And that is something we all face pretty much every single day. The more work you do on yourself, maybe the frequency gets less, but they never go away. So we're going to talk all about it. And for those of you who are celebrating Eid yesterday, I did that. A couple of my clients who are also celebrating. It was so interesting that the trigger started to come right before the event. So literally, I took two of my clients through the same exercise that I'm going to take you guys through today to resolve those triggers so we can enjoy the holiday with so much more peace and fun. And generally, the trigger come from our loved ones. And it comes around every holiday that anybody is celebrating all over the world, because that is when the families are coming together. Things that have not been resolved before are coming to the surface to get resolved. So whether you were celebrating Eid yesterday, you're celebrating it today, or another holiday is coming up and you're already dreading it, after today's class, you're gonna stop dreading it because you get to take all the power back, and you learn how to resolve your triggers. So let's get into it. What is a trigger? A trigger is anything that happens outside of you that disturbs your inner environment. Now, if you're not even connected with your inner environment and you're always living outside of you, then that is something you need to work on first. Really being aware of, what am I feeling? What's going on within me? What is this weird feeling in my stomach? Instead of just consistently ignoring it, because there's a whole communication going on between your mind, your body, and your environment at all time. And the more you know how, like, what they are talking about, what is the pathway of that communication, the easily you can master your life. So then the situation and the people don't control you, but you control yourself. So when a trigger happens outside of you, it could be somebody said something about you. It could be the way they looked at you. It could be the tone of voice. It could be maybe you just saw an accident happening in front of you. Maybe you saw somebody getting hurt. Whenever my son get hurt, even if there is a tiny bit of blood that I'm seeing, it's a trigger for me. And it really takes me places, and I do the work to stay present. So I am there as taking care of him as a mom and not just sitting there in a panic mode. Because whenever a trigger happens, there's a specific pathway. It triggers a memory, a thought. And to begin with, the reason we are getting triggered because something happened way in the past that we never resolved. And that's the suppressed energy. And just like if you take a glass of water and there is a mud or sand settled on the bottom, you take a spoon and you stir it, everything comes to the top. That's what trigger is. Whatever is suppressed is coming to a top. That's why each and every one of us, we have very different triggers. Something that might trigger me might not trigger you at all, but something that might trigger you might not affect me at all. So we all have very unique triggers, and that is sometimes we get into this a little bit of self-judgment. Why I'm so sensitive? It doesn't affect my sister, it doesn't affect my kids or my friends. Why do I get affected? Well, because you're a special, unique person. So if it is impacting you, that means there's something suppressed. That's how your body is communicating with you. Hey, this needs to change. This needs to shift. We do have, I think, lawnmowers coming out. I really hope there's not too much of noise that gets interrupted into our call. Whenever a trigger happens, it's evoking a specific thought because it's going to a memory that we have. So it's pulling out that information from unconscious mind. And when that happens, that thought leads to a feeling and emotion. It happens with a split second. The way you will experience it, something happened and now you're just in the midst of it and you're just like, what is happening? I can't even tell what's happening. It happens very fast. And when that thought leads to that emotion, then it's stirring the energy in our body. Then it becomes physical. That's when we feel something in our stomach. We feel the tightness in our chest. We feel our back tightening. Depending on what the thing is that you're experiencing, who you're experiencing with, and what it is related to. For example, if somebody in your family said something to you and it's related to responsibility, you having a sense of responsibility for everybody, how they feel, their emotions, you're going to feel it in your shoulders or in your upper back. And if it has to do something with your own survival and you're being attacked or judged, you might feel it in your stomach. And if somebody is questioning who you are and how you share and spread your love, it's gonna feel right here. It's gonna feel like, how dare this person say about me? That's not who I am. Because it's about your love that you share with other people. So that is how the trigger is moving really, really fast. What it does right away, every trigger, it activates your lower brain. And it also activates a survival response within you, which is sympathetic nervous system. It feels like you're under attack. Now that attack is invisible. It's not that there's a tiger running after you. So what you're going to feel, you're going to feel typical symptoms of when we are in sympathetic nervous system. Higher heart rate, clumsy palms, your legs might get weakened, you might get shaky, you might get jittery, you might even collapse. And some people, they're just like, I can't deal with this conflict. And depending on how strong their nervous system is, they might even collapse. And that's how extreme trigger can take you. So what we want to do in that moment, we want to first switch our nervous system to sympathetic nervous system. So that's why taking a deep breath is very helpful. Because as soon as you take a deep breath and your lungs, they push against the diaphragm, that it is getting pushed that way, the diaphragm have the neurons that tie to the sympathetic nervous system. So let's say if this is diaphragm and I'm pushing it downward, I'm touching it right away, I have activated sympathetic nervous system. So now I went from stress response to be calm. So that's why it is said a lot, just take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. And one of the more effective way to take a deep breath when you are in that situation, you can either put your hand on your tummy and you try to push your tummy out as you're inhaling. It forces you to breathe from your stomach, or you can take a deep breath and then take a little bit more. So I'm just going to go just a little bit more. So it pushes more. We want to force that diaphragm to get pushed downward a little bit more. So we do feel that relaxation and the calmness that comes. What that would do, it would take you out of like, clumsy palms. You can't even talk. Now you're just jittering, not making sense because you're so angry. Your mind is going in a million different places at a speed of light. When all that is happening, pause, take a deep breath. What it's going to do, it's going to help you center. Now, when it comes to, do you ignore the trigger or should you actually resolve it right there and then? Now, there are some situations, let's say you're having a, dinner with your family and somebody said something to you. And in that moment, you just want to keep a smile and pretend like it didn't even bother you because that's what you want to do. That's okay. You can do that. But that cannot be your way of being. If you are choosing to ignore that person, what we call ignore that person, there's no such thing as ignoring that person. We hold it deep down. We need to process it. That's what we need to do. We don't need to ignore people. We need to process what they are saying, how we are interpreting it, and the meaning we are getting. So we are not going to talk about this pseudo strength that we sometimes project on each other, like, just toughen up, have a thicker skin. So we are not all about that. You can do that in front of somebody, but make a mental note, when am I going to process this trigger? Because if you don't do that, it creates the sedimentation effect. Next time when that triggers come to the surface, it's going to come with so much force that you're not going to be able to just smile through it or pretend it. That's when we have blow-ups. That's when we just completely lose it. And at the end of 2 hours spree, we're just like, what did I just do? I think I just ruined this whole vacation, or I just ruined this whole relationship. That happens when we've been suppressing a lot. So we want to make a mental note when we want to process it. Let's say you're on a phone call, you did get triggered. You can just say, you know what, I'll just call you in a few minutes. Or you can, say whatever excuse you find suitable at that time. I'm a parent. I always have a available excuse. I'm gonna tend to my kid, or my kid is asking for something. So you come up with that in your situation. And once you sit down, these are the steps that you're going to use. I have 5 steps here. These are the 5 steps you're going to use to resolve it. So as we talked about, the trigger starts and it takes you to the thought, it takes you to the emotion, it takes you a physical sensation. We are going to work on all different levels. We don't want to just make sense of it, use our conscious mind, and then leave our body and its sensation alone, because our unconscious mind is the feeling mind, and it's also part of it exists in our whole body. So we want to make sure we are creating a shift in our unconscious mind as well. So the first thing you're going to do, you're going to locate the trigger. What was it that triggered me? For example, somebody was talking to you and it just made you so angry. Was it the tone of their voice? Was it what they were saying? Or was it the way they were looking at you? What was it that triggered you? Sometimes we just assume, oh, this person was being racist, or sexist, whether it's our gender or our skin color or the way we are dressed. We just assume that and we get so angry. How dare they do that? So first locate what it is. And that is where you have to be very honest with yourself, because if you're not being honest, you're just going to wishy-washy it and be like, no, I don't think so. I'm that horrible of a person. No, I don't really care what people think about me. We are not talking about that. We're talking about being very honest. It's okay if you get triggered when people talk to you in certain tone. It's okay to accept that your mind goes towards racism or sexism or whatever it goes to. It's okay. These are our own deep inner secrets that we need to work on in this moment, because that's where the trigger is coming from. So once you locate the trigger, it could be like, you felt like other person was judging you, or the other person was saying like, you're a horrible person. And you thought, no, I'm not. How dare you say that? Or you're like, wait a minute, am I? You went into doubt and confusion, and that led to feeling fearful and anxious at the end of the slippery slope that we go. So find what the trigger is. You can even write it down. It's so much easier when you write it down so it's clear. Then you ask yourself, now we are shifting the thought, because the trigger is something that happened in a past. We didn't resolve it. That old energy is feeding into the thought. So most likely it's a lie. It's not true. It goes back to, when we say hurt people, past hurt is going to make you feel hurt right now, but it's not true. It's very possible the person who was talking to you, they didn't mean any of the things that you talked about, or whatever they meant, you're thinking about, or whatever they meant, it had nothing to do with you. They were just projecting their own insecurities on you. When a person feels afraid, they get angry and they call names on you. And if we cannot see that, we're just going to be like, oh my God, I am a horrible person because I trust this person, and you feel guilty and you feel yucky within you. So we want to ask ourselves, what is the lie in this and what is the truth? So let's say I'll talk about one of my common triggers, which still shows up, and I take a minute to smile and then work through it. If I am on a stoplight, or I'm on a red light, and if right turn is allowed, I am not the person who's going to make that right turn unless I am 1000% sure it will be safe. I'm more like a school bus. I drive like a school bus too. But if a person comes behind me, they're going to honk. And when they're going to honk, I'll be like, oh my God, why you're doing it? I get really angry because in that moment, I feel judged. They are judging that I'm a very slow driver, not a good driver. And I have heard that in the past. So it's all coming back. And in that moment, I just need to be stay in the moment, be present. And I need to ask myself, is that really true? Well, the truth is maybe the other person is in such a hurry that, they may be getting late for an interview or God knows what. I'm just in their way. That doesn't mean anything else. So what I did, I resolved my thoughts in that moment because the thought is what's feeding into the emotion that I'm feeling. Now, I know this is a very light example, and I know the triggers that we deal with sometimes day to day are huge and massive, and they are attacking our identity and who we are and who we think ourselves to be. So just ask yourself, what is the truth in what I'm thinking or what I am assuming? What is the truth in this? So one of the example I will tell you, let's say if you're having a conversation with a family member. Now the family member might be saying, hey, you're becoming selfish. Is that really true? Or because you have become a little bit busier now, you're maybe not that available, or they were so used to lean on you and now you're busy with your own stuff and they are interpreting it as you're the selfish person. So what's the truth in this? The truth is they never learned how to depend on themselves. And you have recently learned that, you got only one life and you better do the things you really want to do instead of being available for everybody. So it's not that you're doing something wrong. It's just that the other person was used to using you. Now they cannot use you anymore. So they are just projecting their own selfishness onto you. In relationship, the freedom comes when I can take care of myself 100%. And you can take care of yourself 100%. And then we come together to share a life, to create memories together. And then, lean on each other whenever you're going through hard time. I can go to you, you can come to me. That's what human relationships are all about. But we are so used to codependent relationships that when a person starts to realize, okay, this is not healthy, I'm going to work on myself and be a better part of this family or this unit that we all are part of, everybody else gets offensive because they are changing the system. They are changing the trauma that has been carried, and a relationship, like, a good chunk of our trauma comes from relationship, the way we get betrayed by other people. So that is what's happening. So ask yourself, what is the truth in this situation that I'm looking at? And then you ask yourself, what am I feeling? I'm not feeling good. That's not the answer. Because not good can mean gazillion things. Not good can mean I have a headache, I have a tummy ache, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling resentful, I'm feeling angry. Name it. What is it I'm feeling? Generally, we feel guilt, we feel anger, we feel shame, we feel resentment. But it takes a different level of honesty to get to the level of resentment, because we're just like, oh no, that's such a bad thing. I can't possibly be resenting somebody. So that does take a level of honesty to get to that. So ask yourself, what is it I am feeling? So now what we are doing, we are going to the emotion aspect of it. We have resolved the thought, so our emotion is already started to shift. But you want to ask yourself, what is it I am feeling? And the next step, you ask yourself, where is this feeling? Is it in your chest? Is it in your shoulders? I mean, your stomach, your shoulders, your legs? If the answer is it's in my head, that means you're stuck in your head. You're not even doing this process. You're feeling like, this sensation that you're going to feel, it will be always below your neck. If you feel like, I'm feeling heaviness in my head, that means you're just overthinking a lot. So you need to take a deep breath and come back to it in a different time when you don't feel so overwhelmed by the idea of resolving this trigger or by the idea of whatever happened. Maybe you just need to sleep on it, come back to it tomorrow. I personally don't like to sleep on anything, especially an emotional trigger, because what happens as the time passes, we are such powerful beings. We can walk through anything. I mean, think about it. Our loved one dies. We don't die with them. We're so resilient. We still move on with life. So what happens if you don't deal with it that moment or that day and you go to sleep, you wake up thinking, I don't think so, I need to resolve it. I think I'm over it. Or it's still lingering there and you're still feeling overwhelmed. So it's better to do it the same day, maybe walk away from it, relax a bit, take a walk, and then come back to it. It would be somewhere below your shoulders. Now, for example, I'm going to give an example that I'm feeling it in my chest. So this is how we're going to transform the energy of it. When we transform the energy of it, that is when it's not going to have a hold on you. It's not going to pull you down. You're not going to feel like, there's a 1,000,000-pound boulder sitting on your head and you can't even get up. Sometimes the trigger is so strong, we feel frozen in that moment, or like, I can't even move, or the whole room start to spin because it's too much energy movement happening to even deal with it. So this is what we're gonna do. I prefer if you do it with eyes closed whenever you do it, because you can connect with the energy better. So let's say I'm experiencing, anger. That's what I'm experiencing. I'm so angry and I'm feeling it in my chest. And actually, I went through something like this last week, and this is exactly what I did to transform it. I did remember after a few hours that, oh, I can actually do this tool. So we're gonna take out the anger. Literally, I want you to go on that place on your body and pull it out. You're pulling out that energy. And then you're gonna open your hand. Always put it on right hand. If you're left-handed, put it on your left hand, because that is the part of the side of the body you connect with better. Keep your eyes closed and just ask yourself, what is this object? If this could be an object, if this feeling, this emotion could be an object, what object it is? What color it is? What is the texture of it? How does it smell? How does it taste? What we are doing, we are consciously connecting with it, with that energy. You don't have to be a healer to do it. You don't have to be trained. You can do it just by asking these questions. And let's say it's a black cloud. It smells really bad. So this is what we are going to do. We're going to put both hands together and we're going to make the intention that my higher self is going to transform that energy to whatever that is best for me and everybody involved. And then I'm going to energize my hands. So you're going to rub, rub, rub. We are transforming the energy. We are transforming the energy that we just pulled out of our body. So you're going to rub, 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 and we are letting our higher self decide what it needs to be. Is anger switching to joy? Is anger switching to happiness or peace or love? I'm going to let my higher self decide that. So rub your hands till you feel there is a shift in your body. Like right now, I was rubbing, my lower back just got relaxed a little bit. That means the energy, whatever I pulled out right now, has shifted. So then you're going to open your hand again and keep your eyes closed through the whole process. And then you're going to connect with it again. What is it? How does it look like? How does it smell? What is the texture? So I'm just going to give an example. Maybe it turned into a ball of light. Now it's pure white light. And it smells good. Or maybe it smells like nothing. Now I'm going to put that energy back. I'm going to put my hand back to where I pulled it out from. And I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm just going to connect with this energy. And what is it that you're feeling now? Generally, It goes to relaxation, calmness, peace, happiness, joy. So we went from the lower vibration of emotions to a higher vibration of emotions. Because what we did, we have an energy center here, we have an energy center here. We kind of like put that thing in the middle of two energy centers and we zapped it by going like this. And we let our higher self decide what it needs to transform into. What is it that I need to feel in this moment right now? Maybe I need to feel relaxed. Maybe I need to feel excited. Maybe I need to feel happy right now. So it will decide what it needs to be. Sometimes we just need to feel peace. And we really start to feel this deep inner sense of peace. So that is how you can resolve your trigger. And these are the 5 steps that you can take. I'll go over them. One is locate the trigger. And the second is find the lie in it or find the truth in it. Ask yourself, what is the truth in it? That is actually one of my favorite questions to ask. My mentor taught me, and I have been able to resolve the biggest triggers just by asking this question, what's the truth in this? The third is, what am I feeling? Fourth is where I'm feeling it. And 5 is you take it out, you connect with it, you rub it, transform it, connect with it again, put it back in, take a deep breath, and just let that feeling move all over your body. No matter what kind of argument you have had, you can use this to completely change it. It takes less than a minute. The more you use it, the faster you become at using it. And one last thing I wanted to share, if there's a trigger that keeps coming back, keeps coming back, keeps coming back, and you've been dealing with that trigger for many years, it's that deep-seated trauma that you have not resolved yet. And once you would resolve it, that is when a trigger permanently goes away. I personally have had triggers that are permanently gone. And the more I've been working on myself, the less I get triggered. Like to the point, it's becoming so rare now that I can go through a full month not get triggered. Sometimes I'm just getting triggered by me, but not from outside people. It's more of an inner conversation going on where the frustration and the judgment will come up, because it's still that perfectionist part of me that want everything to be done now and perfectly, the retirement thinking. Still working on it, still going through it, because there are multiple layers to when we are building that trust within ourselves. When we can look at our life and realize, yes, I understand I have gone through all this, but I trust myself enough to build something very different from today onward. That is the trust that we build as we resolve these triggers, as we do the inner work, as we heal that trauma that has been sitting within us, just as a ball of energy somewhere in our body. So that is all for today. And if you feel like this is the work you're ready to do, please reach out to me. If you're randomly watching this video, just Google Alia the Love Coach, you'll find me. And this work sometimes seems like too much, or do I really need to do that? But I can tell you from my personal experience, this is the most beautiful gift I have given to myself. And I'm not saying it just to brag, but literally anyone can come to me, anyone from my past, from present, maybe in the future, who has no matter what level of authority, but they cannot get to me. In fact, 2 days ago, I was having a conversation with one of my family member, and they were kind of warning me about so-and-so. And I, instead of even getting into anything, I just said, you know what? I don't have anything to worry about. No one can get through me. And that's not a statement out of arrogance, not a statement out of, I have done the work. I know how to protect my food. I don't let other people get into it who don't need to be there, because I trust myself. I love myself. So if you would like to give yourself that kind of gift, I would love to be your guide. So that is all for today, and we'll connect next Thursday. I'm sending you all so much love. Bye.